Hey, book pals, this is Kirsten with the Spine of Motherhood, and I'm so happy you chose to listen to the podcast today. Two friends together talking about books. What could be better? So grab your drink, get cozy, and happy listening. Hey, book pals, welcome back to the podcast. And today we have my beautiful friend Asia on again, which I'm very excited about. Asia, do you want to introduce yourself again?
Sure. You always know me. I struggle with this part. Tell us about yourself. I don't know anything about myself. My name is Asia Brito Guerrero. I write stuff. I live in Arizona with my partners and our kiddos, and yeah, pretty much.
I mean, that's a good enough to me
Yeah.
introduction. Yeah. I'm not good at
Sorry, I said kiddos, and as soon as I did, my kiddo came in.
She's like, you summoned me.
Yeah.
Little cutie. Um, you can talk to her if you need to. I can always edit it out.
Oh, no. She's good.
Okay. Because I understand. I'm sure my kids are gonna come in here and be like, "Mom, um, what are you currently drinking? If you're drinking anything."
I am currently drinking a Starbucks energy drink.
Ooh, I haven't
Yeah,
had any of those.
Isaiah went and picked some up for me before he left for work.
Are they good?
They are. I get the double shot ones,
Uh huh.
vanilla flavored, and they're like the perfect amount of caffeine. Michael got me a triple shot one time, and I felt like my body was like full of static.
Ooh, I need that. I mean, I have Celsius every day. They're like 300 milligrams of caffeine or something
Yeah,
like that, 200 and something. And then I'll have like coffee still and then like more caffeine, like pre workout. I'm
that's something
sure.
that you and Michael have in common. He could have every energy drink in the book, and he functions just normally, and I'm like, oh God, I would die.
I wish I still got that feeling from caffeine, but I don't. I'm having a Baja Blast. I rewarded myself with a Baja Blast, so that's what I'm drinking.
Another
Um,
thing you and Michael have in common.
Yeah. And yeah, what are you currently reading?
I am currently reading Scissor Me Timbers by Freak.
Oh, I want to get
I'm
that one.
arc reading it, yeah. It is I have read everything of his so far, so this is the third thing that I've read of his. And when he asked me to arc, I was like, absolutely. Like I was so excited because I've been reading like little tidbits here and there
Mhm.
that he's been sending me, and I've been seeing all the art that he's been creating for it. And so I was hoping he would ask. And when he did, I was like, I didn't even waste any time. I was like, yes, please.
Immediately, yes. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
the cover for that one is so good. I love it.
Yeah, he did all the art himself.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's so talented. It's ridiculous.
Well, I'm currently reading Haunted Ecologies by Corey Fahrenkoff. It's a horror collection, short story collection, but it's all like environmental horror kind of.
Very cool. Environmental horror kind of freaks me out.
It is freaky, yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm
any
enjoying it.
realistic horror
Yeah,
freaks me out.
I mean, some of this, like a couple of these stories are kind of realistic and more like quiet horror, but then a couple are have some paranormal aspects, but they're environmental, which I love. So, and Corey is also a librarian, so he's like,
Very cool.
yeah, he's like a cool person. And I'm like, nobody like talks about him. Go read him. He's amazing.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm reading. But I did
very
just
cool.
finish Church of Skating by Damien Casey, and that was a really fun read too. So
Fun.
yeah. But today, I love how we all are reading men, but we're gonna shift gears and talk about women in horror.
Yeah.
I specifically like love to highlight indie horror, women in indie horror, but there
Hmm.
are some like women that are traditionally published, I think deserve, the hype. So I'll probably mention a couple of both, but um I know you had some prepared. I am going to just wing it cuz
Wing
yeah,
it.
I have a lot of options I could talk about. But what
Yeah.
is the first book or writer you wanted to talk about?
So obviously, like if we were talking about like indie, my list is literally nothing but indie. I think the only like big known name that I will always mention is obviously Mary Shelley because Frankenstein is my favorite book of all time. I love that book. I think it's beautiful and sad and just wonderful. But my list, I want to start with obviously Jennifer Osborne, Moribund. Um, this book still to this day just devastates me. So I try to talk about it as often as I can. And I told her, I was like, you're gonna get tired of me talking about it one of these days. She's like, maybe, who knows?
No, I love it too. It was very like, it was sad. I was like, "Dang, I'm depressed," but, like, in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it devastated me, and I think about it all the time. And she's got a few other like, she just came out with another like a chapbook, and then she has her short story collection. She's, but that's the one that, like, still sits with me.
Yeah, I could see that. Um, yeah, so and I need to read her other I know she had something else come out recently. Ish?
Buttons.
Yeah, um, I'm always behind on everything.
Oh, yeah, my TV Red is, like, never ending.
Yeah, so I think for my first one, I mean, I talk about Wendy all the time, so
Wendy's on my list too.
it's kinda like people are probably like, "Alright, you talk about these same people over and over," but, like, I still don't feel like Wendy gets the recognition that she deserves.
I've read a majority of her stuff. What's your favorite?
So my most favorite is "Don't Read This or You Might Die." Um,
Mine is It Doesn't Go Away.
I love It Doesn't Go Away too, though. I love a good like in the
Devastating horror?
yeah, like in the hiking and
Yeah.
grief kind of trauma, but mixed with nature, like and the
Yes, I
fungi.
agree.
Ugh, ugh, yeah. There's a part in that book where I don't want to spoil it, but I was like getting physically like I don't know, I
Yeah.
felt kind of
I
sick.
Yeah, no,
So
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. I'm pretty sure I know exactly which part you're talking about.
and I messaged her. I was like, "Oh, I am a little sick to my stomach," and that's hard to
Yeah.
do because I'm not
Yeah,
phased by
yeah.
much. But Wendy like has her own flavor of horror, and she's blazing this trail for pink horror. I feel like, and
Oh,
that's
absolutely. When I think of
amazing.
peak horror, I think of Wendy.
Yeah, yeah. And she recently came out with Birthday Party Demon, which is a really
Yes,
fun YA like 90s demon story, and it's really
yes.
fun.
Yeah, I need to check that one out. I think that's like one of I think that one and like one other book are like I haven't read by her. Everything else I've pretty much read.
The only book I haven't read by her is White Ibis. I have it, but I haven't read it.
Oh yeah, I have that one.
Yeah. So I will read that eventually. But yeah, I'm Wendy is amazing. That she has a book for every
Agreed.
person. If you
Agreed.
just like romance, she has
Oh,
romance too.
yeah, the My Halloween Romance or My Halloween something.
Yeah,
That was so cute. And I don't typically read that kind of book. I don't typically like that kind of book, but I thought that was so adorable and it was so fun to read.
agreed. So definitely if you're hearing this, I've mentioned her before, but Wendy Dalrymple is amazing. Check her out and you can't go wrong with her, I don't think. So yeah. What is your next book you wanted to talk about or person?
Um, so two I've read recently um physical book, but I'll go with the first one is the physical book. So Ruth Anna Evans, Against Medical Advice. I That book did not go the way that I thought it was gonna go, and I was just like, "What?" Like, the ending? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, what? Because I remember I picked this book up from her at Books and Brews,
Mhm.
where I got to meet her for the first time. She's amazing.
She is.
Um, and I finally was able to get to it recently. And, it's a short read. It's like, but it packed a punch because I was just like, and having a daughter who was around the age of the little girl in that story,
Mm.
like what? Like, oh my gosh, it was wild. It was so wild.
I still need to read that one. I
It is
obviously love her.
Yeah.
covers. Like, she's doing, my poetry collection cover,
Her
and
cover, she's so talented when it
she
comes to
really
that, like,
is.
she blows me away every single time I see a cover of hers. I was like, "There's no way she can get better than that." And then she comes out with another one, and I'm like, "Okay, well, there's no like, what?"
No, I agree. So if you're looking for covers too, that's another person that you could support, a woman in the horror community,
Absolutely.
um, and support, art and artists. But I
Absolutely.
really wanna read that one. I really wanna read some from her. I know she's doing the, childbirth
Mhm,
horror
Push.
anthology. Yeah. Um,
I wanted to submit a story for that so badly, but I just wasn't gonna have time to actually sit down and write a story that I
yeah.
because I was already doing 2 other anthologies,
Mhm.
and so I was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna, um, spread myself too thin," but I'm excited to read the stories in that.
I am too. No, and I, obviously have given birth 3 times, so there's the scariest thing I've probably ever done is give birth. So
Oh, yeah.
I could see that I could write a story, but when I saw it for me with prompts for anthologies and stuff, like I'll see the prompt, and if it doesn't immediately spark like an idea in my head, I kind of pass it up because I don't have the
Same.
time to like sit there and think and think and think. And if it's forced, then it's not going to be as good of a story.
Right,
So,
same, and that's why I didn't do it's like, for this one, like, I already had the other 2 stories I was working on,
mhm,
so those were at the forefront of my mind.
yeah,
Because I was working on the charity anthology with Royal Puff
mhm,
and all of them. And then LM Kaplan and Heather and Larson asked me to be in their like Dark Ages anthology. So I had those 2 stories in the front of my mind. And so when the push one, I was like, oh, that'd be so much fun. I couldn't think of a story enough for me to like actually write something in time.
mhm.
So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna take that as I'm meant to enjoy the other stories and not
Yeah.
contribute, you know?
That's kinda how I am too.
Yeah.
I'm writing a story for another woman in horror, Nadine Stewart.
Oh yes, I know Nadine.
House of Macabre is doing a, like, I don't know the word would be, a collaboration with Terrorcore Publishing, and
Cool.
they're doing an alien anthology,
Uh-huh.
and
Oh, really?
yeah, it's, like, set in this town, like, kind of near Area 51, and they're having, like, a UFO festival, and they're all gonna kinda be connected like Curbside Curses was. Um, so I have immediately thought of a story, and so I was like, "Okay." So that was, like, what's been in my head after, like, seeing that is that. So the push when I was like, this'll be fun," but,
Yeah.
I don't have a story for it, so same. But yeah, also that's another shout out.
Yes.
Nadine
Yeah, she was on my list.
she writes, short stories and some poetry, but she is a more of like one of those people I would say in the background that she deserves to be in the foreground, but she does a lot of like things for other writers.
Mhm.
And she formatted The Curse of Medusa for me. So if you
Which
look
is beautiful.
yeah, if you look on the inside and you see how gorgeous it is, it's not because of me, it's because of Nadine. um and she just does a lot for the community. So she's another person that I really respect and value and who needs
Yeah.
more love. Okay, so we did Ruth Anna. If you do not know Ruth Anna Evans, go follow her. Follow her. Go join her cover group.
Yes.
Um,
She's so talented.
yes, and I love that she makes the covers where you can pay like payments and kind of.
Mhm.
She's worked with me before. Like, well,
She's very indie friendly.
yes, yes, she wants you to be able to get the cover you want, and so she's not.
Yeah.
She'll work with you. So that's an amazing
Yeah.
thing too. The other person I wanted to talk about is Ray Wild.
Mhm.
I love Ray. I love Ray's videos on Instagram, and I don't know if Ray does TikTok too, but just like really funny, really um, a lot of political stuff that's amazing, and
Mhm.
she's very brave, very passionate, but she writes some amazing stories. And so I read Merciless Waters by her, and that
Okay.
is like a sapphic pirate,
Ooh.
kind of weird
You already
cosmic.
sold me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of elements to it, but it is all these women on this boat, and they're living kind of this outlaw life, but there's these cosmic horror elements too. Really good. Uh, but some sapphic stuff in there that you're like that's pretty good. And
Totally up
then
my alley.
yeah, she also curated, I think, Scissor Sisters, which is a sapphic horror anthology.
Very cool.
Yeah, I loved that one. And she has a book, The Stradivarius. I haven't read it yet, but I bought it from her recently, so I will be reading
Yeah.
that. But just she has other stuff too. She has one recently came out, I Do Not Apologize for My Position on Men.
Oh, I
And
like that title.
yeah, it seems like it's gonna be amazing. Also have not read it yet just because I'm so behind. But
I would read it just based on that
yeah,
title, yeah.
yeah, she sent me a pin that has the title on it, and I have it on my bag, and a couple
Very
people
cool.
have been like, stopped to read it, and then they kinda look like, yeah. So, Rae Wild, check her out on Instagram, and her books are fantastic. I highly recommend Mirthless Waters, it's my favorite. So, yeah. Who did you have to talk about next?
So I have Miss Potato Man, Lee Kenny. So I've been friends with Lee for a while now, and I think she's absolutely spectacular. You know, we got to meet her, member at Books and Brews, and
Yeah.
um, she's just a wonderful human being. But I recently read one of her newest, Hush, My Darling.
Uh-huh.
So I really enjoyed Cursed, and I was like, okay, like I can't wait for her to come out with more. And when she came out with Hush, My Darling, I was like automatically was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna read that because I love her writing. But Hush, My Darling was just so up my alley, and this like okay, Jen Osborne actually recently was like, if you like Butterscotch by Asia Frito Guerrero, you'll like
Aw,
Hush My Darling by Lee Kenny. And I
that's
was
a
like, that
fun
was like
yeah.
so like naturally I guess I enjoyed it because it felt like something that I would write.
Ooh, yeah.
And it was just so well done. It was like it kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time, pissed me off the whole time. Of course, the men in the story pissed me off.
Yeah.
Um, but it was just so well written and so well done and so well like just a well done story. And I definitely think that yeah, I probably if I ever visit Ireland, I'm staying where there's a ton of people. I'm not going anywhere that there's less people.
That's funny. That's a good thing for about a story when it kind of, like, later in life, you're, like, remembering the story when you're in a situation and you're
Mhm.
like, "Oh, ooh."
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a good one. Definitely a good one.
I have Cursed, but I haven't read it again because I'm terrible. I'm
I
terrible.
read it I read it when like The Brawl
Oh,
was like
yeah.
big, so like I read it then. Um but yeah, Hush My Darling, like yeah,
Okay, I need to
it was
add that one
amazing.
to my, I don't know if I don't think she's coming to, because I think she came to AuthorCon one
I
year
know, yeah.
too. So I don't know if she's
Yeah, and
coming
I
this
I know
year.
she's going to I know she's going to one event this year. I just don't know which one it is. I am fairly certain it is because you know how like Books of Horror does like the map where it shows like what authors are coming
Mhm.
from where. I know Ireland is on that map, and she's the and I don't I this is so bad to say, but like she's when I think of Irish authors, she's the first person that comes to my mind. And I know there are plenty of other Irish authors in the group. I just don't know of ones that would be invited to Books of Horror
Yeah.
or Books and Brews. Um, so I don't know if she's gonna be at this year's Books and Brews, like if she was like invited back. Um,
I would think it would be her. I mean, I know that Keelan Patrick Burke is Irish, but, he lives in the US and has for a while, I think, so
oh, okay, yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
it's
and she
him.
she would be coming from yeah.
And then I'm the same way as you. When I think of Ireland, I think of her, and I think of Keelan Patrick Burke. And then
Yeah.
I know John McNee is Scottish. Um, so he came to
Yeah, and then
AuthorCon. I mean, yeah, to AuthorCon, but that he's from Scotland, which is different than Ireland. In my head, I'm like,
oh
"Oh,
yeah.
they have a
Yeah,
similar accent."
MJ Mars and Sarah Jules are from
The
the
UK.
UK.
Mhm.
C.S. Jones is from Wales. Like we got a few friends that are out that way, and
Yeah, my friend Chris
yeah.
Badcock, he's in Nottingham? Nottingham? I
Okay.
can't yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not good with geography or names of stuff, but
I'm sure it's the same way like when we say like states out here, you know.
yeah. Or and then are you friends with Tori Favreau?
I know of Troy Favreau.
Yeah, he's from Australia or New Zealand, one of those
Very
places,
cool.
and he's gonna be at Books and Brews.
Very cool.
Yeah. So those are all I'm like, oh, and I saw Clay McLeod Chapman's gonna be at Books and Brews and Rachel Harrison. I'm like, oh.
I know there's a lot of people at Books and Brews, and I'm like bummed that I can't go because I'm like,
Yeah.
obviously people that I met last year that I would love to see again, but then
Yeah.
like new people that are going, but I'm like, ah,
No, I love Rachel Harrison. That's another woman in horror that's traditionally published, but literally every book of hers I've read, like just comfort horror to me.
right,
I don't know.
right.
So that's another if you like horror, but you're not like super into really disturbing or gross horror, Rachel writes more like cozy horror, I would
Mhm,
say. And I've
mhm.
read everything she's written, so yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm a big fan of her, and she's so cute.
That's awesome.
And she's messaged me that I don't know why that makes me like love authors more like bigger authors when they talk to people.
Right, like a human being.
Yeah, like she's messaged me before, like talked to me about something, and I was like, "Oh my god, I love you so much!" Like
That's amazing.
totally fangirling, But she's very
I
sweet.
love that.
Yeah. Okay, wait. So we got off track. I talked about
It's the
Ray. You
ADHD.
talked about Lee, right?
Mhm. Yep.
So check out Lee Kenny. Hush My Darling's the newest one.
I know she's coming out with something else soon. But she's been working on a bunch of stuff, but like
Okay.
that's her newest one that I've read.
Okay. All right, I'll have to check it out too. Who was I? Oh, I know who I was gonna talk about. I was gonna talk about Kinsey Jennings, who I've mentioned a couple times on the
Mhm.
podcast, but is worth mentioning again. So Kinsey wrote Reception,
Mhm.
which is cannibalism, and immediately I loved it because
I love cannibalism,
same. That's one of my
obviously.
favorite. It's one of my favorite like subgenres of horror. Um, and so I really and she writes a lot of like femme forward type of stories, which I love. And she's also a literature professor or teacher. I can't remember, but yeah. So she's a great writer. But
Mhm.
she has one of the books in the Western splatterpunk Red Station. I think that's what it's called.
Oh, very cool.
And then she has one that I have on my 25 and 2025 list. It's called The Poisoner's
Mhm.
Last Ride. I think I don't have my glasses on and I can't read that far away, but it's like a novella. So I'll probably
Oh,
get to that
okay.
soon. But yeah, Kinsey, I just don't see her talked about a lot. And
Right.
I met her at AuthorCon last year. She's the same height as me. So I was immediately like, okay, I love this.
You're like we're both little.
Yeah, we hugged and it's like the same height. And she's really sweet. So check out especially Reception. That is such a good one. If you love cannibalism and like really kind of high action, like cinematic horror, that's a
Mhm.
good one. So that is my other recommendation, and now it's your turn.
So I recently read Mortifier by Sarah DeRosa.
Love
Um,
Sarah.
so yes, I love Sarah too, and we got to meet her. Well, I don't know if you had met her before, but it was the first time I met her last year at Books and Brews,
No, that was my first time too.
and she's absolutely wonderful. But like, I'm a huge fan, just like her. I'm a huge fan of Art the Clown and Terrifier and all that. And Mortifier is like her twist on that, like her own story, but influenced by Terrifier and Art the Clown.
I love that.
Yeah, and so, like, when I automatically knew that I was gonna love it. But when I read it, I was like, "Oh, yeah." It just confirmed that I was like, "Yes, this story is wonderful." So, it was a lot of fun. If you like the Terrifier movies, you would definitely like this story.
Hmm.
And she's just a wonderful, wonderful writer. So, yeah,
She is.
definitely check that one out.
I haven't read anything about her yet, and I feel bad, but again, it's just the nature of
Definitely
having.
start with Mortifier.
Okay,
It's
good.
great.
Well, and I was gonna say this too. This is probably one of those times where the next time you and I are in a hotel room together and you're gonna force me to watch a movie. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
You didn't force me, but I haven't watching. I haven't watched any Terrifier movies.
What?
I know.
Oh, they're amazing. Michael hadn't seen them either, and I was like, "You will sit down and you will watch these."
Yeah, so the next time we're in a hotel room, you're gonna be like, "We have to watch Terrifier now."
Yes.
Because you got me to watch, what's it called? Dale and, what is it called?
Oh,
Tucker and Dale. Is that it?
yeah, versus Evil.
Yeah, and that I think about that all the time, like, I think about certain parts of it and I'll crack up, so
That movie is hilarious.
yeah, it
Yeah,
is. So I
yeah.
appreciate you telling me to watch it. But yeah, so I will definitely I don't know if I need to watch Terrifier first or if I can just read Mortifier and
Even if you've never seen Terrifier, Mortifier is still a great story.
okay. I
And
know
then
the
once
kind
you
of
watch
vibe.
Terrifier, you'll be able to appreciate it.
Okay. I know I've seen enough, like, clips and stuff and memes of Terrifier stuff that I kinda feel like I know the vibe,
Yeah,
but, um but yeah, so okay, so Sarah DeRosa, Mortifier. Does
yeah.
she have anything else? She has a couple different things out.
She's got a few things out. Yeah, Mortifier is the one thing that I've read by her so far, but I have a few of hers on my list.
Same. My never-ending list.
Yeah, the never-ending list.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm trying to think of who I'm gonna talk about. Like, my urge to talk about Hailey Piper is very strong, but at this
I have
point,
Haley on my list.
Haley Haley knows that I'm obsessed, and so I don't think it's, like, as weird or creepy because she's like, "Oh, she just."
She's like, "Oh, it's normal."
Yeah, that's just Kirsten. Um, but I can't not mention Hailey Piper because when I think like, the way when I think of horror, I think of Wendy Dalrymple for pink horror. When I think of cosmic
Right.
horror, I think of Hailey Piper, and queer horror, I think of Hailey Piper, like, yeah,
I
she's the
have her on
queen.
my list. I need to bump her up on my list though.
I listen, and I it's totally valid if you're listening to this podcast chat and you like, I read, Queen of Teeth or The Worm and His Kings, and I didn't understand it, I didn't like it. I can see that and it's valid because it is weird. It's weird cosmic horror,
I
but
love weird.
it's so good. It's so good. And every character's queer. Badass women, badass queer women, like, ugh, I'm listening to All the Hearts You Eat by her right now,
Mhm.
and on audiobook, and I'm loving it, and it's like a full cast audiobook, so every character has their own narrator, and it's really fun. Um
Something that I learned is that like with writing and reading and just like sometimes things aren't meant to be understood. Sometimes they're just meant to be enjoyed. Like I
yeah,
enjoy things sometimes, and sometimes those things aren't meant to be understood, and I can still enjoy them.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So I think that people too often they feel like they need to understand something. And it's like just enjoy it. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
No, and I know, every podcast chat I've had, I've mentioned David because, like you, he's one of my best friends. So I'm like,
Right.
David, da da da. But David, I know you're listening to this, David. He has a hard time with suspending, like, what is it? Suspending disbelief, or like when things
Gotcha.
are
Yeah.
not very grounded in reality.
Right. Right. And
And
there's too much like left for
not
interpretation.
yeah, not to say that he doesn't enjoy stories or movies like that, but I kind of fuck with when they're like that. Like, I
Right.
kinda like it when there's like, "What the hell is going on? I don't know, but it's wild." Like that, I kinda like that. So it is fun. If you're somebody who has a hard time with it not being grounded in reality, Haley Piper might not be for you, although she does have some that are more like grounded in reality, not as much out there cosmic horror. But I definitely always recommend Queen of Teeth to everybody starting out because it's just, oh, it's so good. Um,
Yeah.
and my favorite by Haley Piper is The Worm and His Kings trilogy. That oh, so it's like perfect cosmic horror to me.
That's
So
amazing. I'm gonna put that one on my list.
yeah, yeah, and she has one that's like kind of more fantasy. I just thought I forgot the name of it. I'll think of it when it's, like, not important anymore for me to know it, but she has,
Yeah, right.
like, mostly fantasy with some some horror elements. So, No Gods for Drowning, I thought that's it. So,
Oh, okay.
anyways, Haley Piper, if you haven't read her, go read her. I'm like her number one fan. So yeah. Um, but did you have someone else you want to talk about now that I've just like went on a tangent?
So I have one more person that I want to mention their name and something I read by them that I loved, and then
Uh-huh.
I have a list of women that I want to shout out.
Okay.
But MSKR, she has a book called Earthworm and Other Twisted Short Stories.
Ooh.
This book, so it's obviously a collection of hers, and every short story has to do with like an insect. It's like an earthworm, a spider, like
Oh,
all the, yeah,
I'm so
praying
about that.
mantis, I think is one. And it is so much fun. The earthworm story is exactly like when you're like, she took that whole like when girlfriends are like, babe, if I turn into a worm, would you still love me? And she
Hmm.
totally like turned that into like a freaky ass story.
I love that.
And yeah, and so like every one of the stories is just like about an insect or something like pertaining to an insect. And so it's a lot of fun. I really, really, really enjoyed that collection.
It sounds fun. I love insects, so
Yeah, you would really enjoy the collection.
I gotta get it.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
Okay, and what's the author's name again?
So her author name is MFKR.
MSKR?
Yes.
Okay. Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, so that's her author name. I know her by her personal name. Obviously, I'm friends with her. I'm not sure. I would hate to like
No, yeah, no.
sometimes she like is okay with like she's in the Books of Horror group and things like that, but like being on a podcast, I don't want to say her like actual name just in
No,
case,
yeah. Her author name's
But
fine. I get
yeah,
that
her author name is
completely.
MFKR.
Cool. Okay. I'm gonna look it up and try to grab her collection.
Yeah.
And then you said you had well, I wonder I'm trying to think about if I have anybody else. Oh, my kids are yelling at each other in the background. Um, they've been playing Fortnite all day. It's spring break and
Yeah.
they're
Our
like
spring break was this past week.
they're just like hollering and
A hootin' and a hollerin'.
kid things. I don't know. I don't think I feel like I always like shout out the same people. Oh, I do want to and this I don't know if this is a good recommendation because I've never read her books, but I did just get one in and it's May Murray. I don't know if you've seen her on Instagram or wherever.
I
Um
don't think I've heard of her.
okay, let me hero on my back. Hold on. Let me get up so I can Chihiro. I want to tell you the title. It's
Okay.
called I'm Sorry If I Scared You and it's by May Murray and I'll give you like a little quick synopsis.
Okay.
So, Thanksgiving 2010, the world prepares for the first lunar eclipse to take place on the winter solstice since the year 1638. Crop circles, strange animals, disappearances, and UFOs permeate the empty countryside of the American South.
Hmm.
Uh, let's see. Odette Odie Tucker is a first generation college student returning home from Boston to Arkansas for the holiday. On the drive home, she endures a pill induced abortion in a gas station she told no one about. On a whim, she rescues the clump of expelled cells in a plastic water bottle. And so when she gets home, she faces suppressed feelings of abandonment from her family and friends. An out butch lesbian Odie is too afraid to admit she's in love with. When Odie's adoration becomes sentient and possesses her, she begins to live vicariously through its complete embrace of love, sex, violence, and vengeance. So that sounds like so many things going on there, and I love it, and I can't wait to read it.
But you're gonna let me know what you think of it afterwards, because I've never heard of her, and
Yeah,
I love hearing about new authors.
yeah. So go follow her on Instagram. I'm sure I'll like try to link everybody's stuff if I can. But May Murray, and she's super kind, and yeah, I'm excited to read. And the cover of this too, I'll show you after the call. Like it's a beautiful cover. So
Awesome.
that's the last person I'm gonna shout out, and I know you have a list of some
I
women you want to mention. So
do. So I have a list, and I'm sure that I am leaving out tons of amazing women in horror. But when I was thinking of the list, these are the ones that came to mind. So obviously, we already mentioned Wendy.
yes.
Angel Van Etta,
Oh yeah.
Kayla Frederick, Kimberly Nicole, Lisa Brienne, Judith Sonnet, RJ Powell, Eve L. Fell, I know I mentioned MJ Mars, but um, Crystal Shanahan, Carrietta Dorsch, Savannah R. Fisher, Jill Glenn, Amanda Russa, Asher Dark, Cassandra Celia, Camille Dancio. Camille, I'm so sorry, I'm probably butchering your last name, so you can totally message me and
I
tell me how
feel
to
that.
pronounce it.
Yeah.
I love her. She shouts me out so much. I was like,
Ooh.
girl, I'm gonna dedicate my next book to you. Like seriously,
I don't think I know her, so I need to go.
she's amazing. She's so supportive, and she's just the sweetest person like I've like met recently.
Okay.
Um, Bridget Nelson, Heather Ann Larson, Megan Stockton, Lisa Vasquez, J.M. Goki, Angelique Jordana, and NJ Gallegos. So when I think of like women in horror, those are the ones that immediately come to my mind.
Yes.
And like I said, there are so many. Um, and I'm sure if I sat down and like actually thought about it for like an hour, this list would be in the hundreds. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
You'll have to
Um,
send me the screenshot of the list so I can put it in the show notes. But
oh yes,
I'm the same
absolutely.
way, and I like now that you've done that because so many of those people are also on my list, like Judith, Crystal,
Hmm.
RJ. Like, just you did a great job with your list. I'm gonna throw in some other ones I don't think you mentioned.
Okay.
Um, so I'm gonna say J.R. Erickson.
Okay.
More thriller, but some horror. I don't hear her talked about a lot.
Well,
Uh,
if we do thriller too, Alicia Galvin and
oh yeah,
Christina
yeah, yeah.
Grieve are
Yes,
both really really great. They're more into this. That's why I left them off the list because they're more like
thriller horror.
for me it's like realistic horror, but
Yeah.
if you ask people, they're like that's thriller, and I'm like, to me sometimes thriller can be horror.
Yeah, no, anything can be horror, honestly. We've talked about that before. Like, it's no, I would say J.R. Erickson kind of toes the line between both thriller and horror. So
Yeah.
definitely, Alicia, is that how you say her name, or Alicia? Alicia,
I'm pretty sure it's
Alicia
Alicia
Galvin.
Galvin, and then Christina Grave.
Yes. And so then Mona Kabani, I love
Mm-hmm.
her. I also want to mention Brianna Morgan.
Oh yes, yes,
Um,
yes, yes,
she's one of my personal friends, and she is amazing and super cute and adorable.
yes, yes.
I
I've
don't
read
have a
her. I
crush on
can't
her.
believe I left her off the list.
Who else do I got here? I'm looking. Oh, Lucy Letner. I love Lucy. Um,
I love Lucy.
Lucy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, but also I love Lucy Letner. She wrote like a cult, like yoga cult wellness
Cool,
story that I loved, and I always recommend. So that's one of my faves by
cool.
her. Let's see. I'm literally just going through my shelves and telling you guys who else can. I do want to mention Christina Osborne from Trueborn Press.
Yes.
She does a lot as well for the community and indie horror, and she's just an amazing person. So if you have not checked out Trueborn Press, you should. They're an amazing indie press that are very female woman focused. Um, and yeah, yeah, I highly recommend. I also have a story I haven't read yet called Brutal Hearts by Cassie Daly. Um,
Hmm.
and that is another woman. I think her name is Control Cassie on Instagram. She does a lot of horror art. But this is like a hiking, like in the woods hiking trail horror story with a disappearance. Brutal Hearts. So definitely check it out. I think she did the cover art for that too. Um, And who else? Oh, Angelique Jordana.
Oh yeah, I mentioned Angelique.
Okay, yeah.
I
I was
love
like,
her.
I
I
don't
love
know.
her.
And then one more I'll mention is Nikki Noir. Um,
Okay.
I know Nikki has the succubus story through Blood Bloodbound books. Yeah, so that's fun. I always love a good succubus demonic
I
type
do
story.
I would like to mention also like so I have I mean I know you do too, but for me like I have so many friends that also do a lot of editing in the indie world. You know,
Yeah.
like I mentioned Jill Glenn and Savannah R. Fisher, like they do a lot of editing as well as writing, but Allison with Red Editing, she's amazing. She's been a really good friend for me in the last year. Mariah with marked up editing, and then obviously my personal editor, Mary, with the Mad editor.
I love Mary.
Um,
I
I
love
love
Mariah
Mary.
too.
Mary's been so patient with me because I have been working on my book Botanophobia for a while now, but like since starting school, it's been a little bit less, and I've been
Hmm.
like, getting at it. But she's just amazing. She checks in on me just to check in on me as a friend, and
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for her so much. But I like, I just wanted to say that like it's not just women writing in horror, but like the women who are editing, and we mentioned like the cover artists like Ruth Anna Evans and Chrissy Aldridge is a cover artist as well, and Amanda Ruzas does cover art too, and just like every woman in horror, not just the writers, but the editors and the book cover artists, and um, I think that they're worth mentioning too.
Yeah, they're equally important. They do so much to
Absolutely,
advance
absolutely.
the community and to highlight women.
And like not even to get started on like all the women reviewers in
Yeah.
indie horror. Oh my gosh, there's like so many.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's heartening to see, like, I'm surrounded by so many amazing women in horror, and it makes me sad
Yeah,
when people, like, only wanna read, like, Stephen King or whatever. I'm like, "Do you?" But there's so many amazing women in this community
but they're
that you could.
missing out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. As far as editors, I also wanted to mention my friend Natasha Reynolds.
Yes.
She's amazing. She does editing. She's helped me with a lot of stuff. She also runs the Sinister Scoop, which is a horror blog, and
Mhm.
they do a lot for queer and indie women in horror. So I love Tasha. And then Nadine again. Like, Nadine is amazing. If you don't
Oh
know
yeah, and
Nadine, you should.
Heather Ann Larson also edits.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. See, there's
Yeah,
so
she's
many.
amazing. She works a lot. She works a lot with LM Kaplan when they do all like the anthologies.
Hmm.
She always contributes a story, but she does like all of the editing and like
Yeah, and she's
formatting
helped
and things
edit for
like that.
Gage too, right? I think.
Yeah, yeah. We just have so many amazing, talented women in the community, and it's like,
I love it.
yeah, it's so inspiring, and I'm so grateful that like I'm we're friends, with the majority of them, and that just feels like really surreal to like have all these talented people that were like, hey, like I actually talk to these people, I actually know these
Yeah,
people.
like, they're good people,
They're good
aside from,
people,
yeah,
yeah.
aside from their writing. Well, speaking of talented women, let's talk about what you have cooking.
Oh gosh.
Um, so you
I thought
have
you'd be like,
your,
let's talk about me.
yeah, your botanophobia story that you're working on, right? And
Yeah,
then
so I'm working on that, yeah.
go
I
ahead.
should be anyways.
I'm thinking about working on it.
Yeah, exactly. The
And you have
concept.
a short story collection coming out, I know, because I have helped with that
Mhm.
a little bit, and read all the stories so far. So I'm really excited about
Yes.
that. Do you have, like, ideas for when you will have those out, or are you just kinda going with the flow?
So right now, um, I obviously have a few of my favorite short stories that have only been viewed by like less than a dozen people,
Mhm.
that I'm putting into this collection, as well as like your forward and your short story that you're adding to it. Um, that I have like one or two more stories that I really would like to write to add to the collection before like I actually publish. My goal is to have it at least finished before or by my birthday in August.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then Botanophobia, I have decided that I am playing it by ear. The book is like half done. It is like I've written a lot, but this is probably going to be my hardiest book so far.
Uh-huh.
And I really want it to be super intentional. Like, not to say that my other books weren't intentional, but my other books were just like, I just had the story and I had fun with them and I just let the story do its own thing.
Yeah.
But with Botanophobia, like I want it to be very intentional. Like this is the first all my books have had queer characters in it, but this is the first book that I actually take something super personal from my life and add it in there, which is non-monogamy. And I wanted it to be very intentional in the sense that like it's not it's just a part of the characters, you
Yeah,
know? Um
I get that.
yeah, so it's a very it's so I'm trying to like not rush it kind of thing. So I don't really have an uh a date released for this one yet, but for the short story collection, definitely before or by my birthday. So, which
That's
is end of
exciting.
August.
It'll be here
Yeah.
before you know it, I feel
Oh,
like
I know, I know.
it feels like AuthorCon I've been counting down since last year at
Mhm,
AuthorCon, and now
mhm.
it's like 9 days away from me going.
I know. I've been seeing all you guys count down. I'm
Yeah,
so excited to see pictures and videos, and I
I'm
know
very excited.
Mandy Quinn was like, "You better get ready for me to like send you or do video chat with you," and I was
Yeah,
like,
I can't wait.
"Okay."
You will definitely be there in spirit as well as
I
everybody
know.
else who I wish was gonna be there but is not going to
Yeah.
be. It's my one big, hurrah of the year, so I'm really
I
looking
definitely do
forward to
plan
it.
on going next year because I mean, grant you, I'm gonna be going right into my mortuary science degree, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to make at least one event work.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
I'm graduating in the fall with my bachelor's, and then I'll be going straight into my master's, so
Nice.
it's
I'm
like
so proud of you.
it's like never ending. Like, people are like, "Oh my god, you're gonna graduate soon?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I still
Then I
have."
start again.
Yeah, I still have a while because my end
Yeah.
goal is my doctorate, and that's
Yeah.
that's a long time in the making. So we'll get there, but I'm excited about AuthorCon. But August will be here for your collection, and I can't wait for it. So everybody, just
Yeah.
if you're not following Asia on her socials, you should, just to keep up with all the fun stuff she posts, but also when she will have her new works out. Um,
Yeah.
and you're just Asia. What are you on
Just Asia.
Instagram?
It's Asia BG author. So BEEGEE
Okay,
author.
I thought so. I didn't wanna
Yeah.
say it incorrectly. And then you're on, where else are you? Do you still do TikTok or
So when they did the TikTok ban, I um got rid of the app for a little while, and then when I got it back, it's like not letting me log in, so I'm trying to figure that out.
ugh,
So right now it's mostly just Facebook and Instagram.
yeah, I feel that. After the TikTok ban, I was so heartbroken because I had so many, like, videos and so much work put into it, and I was like, "Man,
Hmm.
fuck this." And then when they brought it back, like, immediately, I was like, "Y'all are messing with my emotions, and I don't like that." So I haven't
But I
gone
also
back.
realized I was a lot more productive when they got rid of TikTok, so
Yeah,
I wasn't too like eager to re-download it again. So I'm kind
yeah.
of glad it's not letting me log in.
I still have
Um,
it because people will send me TikTok videos so I can, like, click on them and watch them. But I don't post.
yeah,
I'm not
Michael
active
gets
there.
Michael gets salty because he's like, I have this TikTok video I need you to watch. I'm like, well, just show it to me in person.
Yeah, that's funny. But, you're also on Facebook, obviously. Do you do,
Yeah.
like, Threads or X or
Um,
anything?
not anymore. No, it was like like it was just repetitive, and I wasn't really interactive much on it with
Yeah,
anybody. So I was like, I'm more interactive on Facebook and Instagram. So
same.
those are the two that I feel like the most comfortable with, but that I actually talk to people with or
Yeah.
like on.
For anybody listening, if you can hear my kids in the background, they're fine. They're literally just angrily
Oh, I
screaming at
can't
each
hear them.
other. Okay. They're literally like Sawyer is in there just like screaming his head off about whatever happened in the game they're playing. So
My daughter's evil laughing and eating fish sticks.
I can't hear her, but that's amazing. She's
Yeah,
iconic.
she's doing like an evil laugh and eating fish sticks.
I love that.
She just put stickers all over the floor, and so I'm excited for my husband to come home and see that
Oh
because they're not
man.
coming off.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, her and Finn would absolutely, like, literally I went to the movies the other day and I had to, like, I was running late and it was like 5 minutes before I had to leave, and Finn walks in the bathroom and he's like, "Mom," and his, like, hands are, like, covered in paint, like, just coated in paint. And
Yeah.
I'm like, "What in the hell? Like, sir, why would you decide to do this right now?"
I mean, why not? Right?
And I'm like, you're 8. You should not be, why do you make why do at
Oh
what
yeah,
point does he
Raya's
think,
barely gonna be
"Hmm."
4.
Yeah, so Raya kind of has a little bit of an
Well,
excuse, but
and the stickers I'm not too concerned about because we have like one of those scrapers for the floor. It's better than when she painted the walls recently with nail polish.
oh.
And it like the magic eraser got was getting it off, but it was such an arm workout that there's still nail polish on like the cabinets and stuff.
It's
I'm just
not
like,
it's not
it is what
funny,
it is.
but it is kind of funny because, like,
Oh no, you could laugh.
I have this that's literally Finn. Like anything that's been drawn on the wall in my house still, I've just left it because honestly, I thought by the time I clean this off in a couple of weeks, he'll just draw something else. So
Right,
what's the
right.
point?
Yeah. There's worse things that they could be doing, I
Yeah.
guess.
It's just when he's like, he'll be 9 in September, and I'm like, dude, at what point are you gonna like stop choosing violence? Like,
He's like, "That seems like a challenge, mom. It's never gonna happen."
yeah. But anyways, um, I don't have anything writing up like update wise except that I'm still working on Old Wives' Tale.
I'm so excited.
Uh, I have a goal where I'm like, let me get to like 10K words by this, and 20K words by this, and 30K words by this. But I mean,
Yeah.
some days I don't write not even one single sentence, and then some days I'll write like thousands of words. So it just depends.
Mhm.
I don't know when to tell y'all it will be ready, but I do
That's
have a
my writing.
yeah, yeah. I do have a goal. So it'll be here eventually. Maybe by the fall. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the
Um
Curse of Medusa. So, like, literally, like, I obviously read it on my Kindle, but then getting a physical copy from you, I reread it again because the formatting is just beautiful on Kindle, but also just like in physical
person.
copy. But
Yeah.
that one. I mean, I obviously love Medusa. I have Medusa tattooed on my left thigh. Um, so I've always loved this story of Medusa because it was just as a woman, so you could relate so heavily to it. And so your rendition of the story and how you turned it into what you did, so fucking empowering that like it gives me chills even to just think about it now. Like just so wonderful and just I'm grateful that you wrote it.
Thank you. I that's what I tell people, especially like I wrote, and I think in the afterward I wrote that like this I wrote the story for myself
Yeah.
to work out like anger and rage and hurt I've had, but also the
Mhm.
hurt and anger and stuff I feel about women in general that they've had to deal with. And
Endure,
then
yeah.
like my whole life I love Medusa as well, like you, but I also was why is she getting like
Why is she the bad guy?
treated like this? Like what did she really
Right.
do? And so I just finally was like, you know what? I'm going to make her story better because she does not deserve that. And someone as powerful as her would not have gone down, that easily or without a fight. And a lot of like mythology is paints women in that way. And so I didn't
Oh yeah.
want, her
Even still today.
yeah, no, her only flaw was that she trusted someone and,
Mhm.
consensually gave her body to someone that ended up, betraying her and tossing her to the
And
side and yeah, and she was
how many times has that happened to a lot of us?
yeah, and then she was
You know what I
painted
mean?
as the victim, the perpetrator when she's really the victim.
Yeah,
Um
exactly.
so yeah, and that's I know that it was written during a time when that was normal and that's how they viewed gods and stuff, whatever. But I wanted to make it better. I wanted to make it a better story for her.
You did.
So
You
I
did.
hope
You
when people
absolutely
read
did.
it, they at least think like, "Well, that was satisfying."
Oh, it absolutely was. It absolutely was.
Good. And people have also asked me about like writing other like Greek mythology retellings with women, like Persephone or
That would be really fun to like have numerous retellings like that and putting them all in a collection.
I think so too. It's something I would explore later, but honestly, like none of them have like grabbed me as much as Medusa.
Medusa. That's understandable, yeah.
And so I wouldn't want to force it again. Um,
Yeah, I can understand that. I can, yeah.
and people have been like, "Can you make Medusa longer?" And like I could, but I wanted it
I
to
think it's
be
great.
yeah, I wanted it to be just a snapshot of this one like it's kind of multiple scenes, but like one major part. I didn't want it to be a full story, because we already
Right.
know her origin story. We already know all the other stuff. I want it to be just this one part.
I think if it was longer, it wouldn't have as much of like an empowerment punch to it.
I think so too. So it is what it is, and I love that people want to read more of it. but I don't think it would be as impactful if it were longer. Um,
Yeah, I can understand that.
I do have a poetry collection coming out, probably this summer. Um,
Cool.
yeah, Nadine is gonna help me edit and format that, so hopefully it'll be equally as beautiful as Medusa. But if you don't
I'm
like
sure.
poetry, not everybody likes poetry. It's totally fine.
I love reading it. I am not the best at writing it,
It's
but I
actually
love reading it.
it's the first thing I like ever started to write like seriously when I was younger was poetry. So it's easy for me. But it's all like sad bitch stuff, because that's what I'm just a
My
sad bitch.
favorite.
Yeah. But it's called Notes on Living. I should have like an announcement soon, but Ruth Anna Evans did the cover. It's really cool and
You'll
yeah,
have to show me.
I will. I am excited. I don't I'm terrible at like promotional stuff. So I'm like,
Yeah. I've been like that lately.
when do I post about it? I don't know. Like, how soon do I post
I
about it?
made a yeah, I made a post recently. I was like, "Hey guys, in case you forgot, I wrote these books."
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, that's totally me. Cause like, so I was saying, oh, I've sold this amount I was like, listen, after that first month of Medusa, I haven't even looked. Like, I don't even look.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cause I care, but like, I did it because I wanted to, not because
Right,
of anything
right. I
else.
mean, I have consistent sales. It's always like the most like when I first have a book that comes out,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
after that, it's like I have consistent sales. A majority of my readers are in KU,
Hmm.
which doesn't, obviously doesn't bother me, or else I would not have my books on KU.
Yeah.
Because I had like one of my classmates she's actually reading one of my books on KU, and she's like, "You get paid, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I get paid. You're fine." I was like, "If I did not want them on KU, they would not be on there." She's like, "Okay, good." She's like, "I'll buy it outright right now." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no."
Oh,
I was like, "You are totally okay."
that's so sweet that your classmates are one too.
Yeah.
Um,
So we had like a typing test,
mhm.
and then she was like, "You have to like have 30 words per minute to at least pass to get an A." And I had like 97 words per
Yeah,
minute,
I was about to
which
say I could crush
just
that.
because like that's what I do. Like I type all day every day. And they're like, "What do you do for a living?" And I was like, "All right, y'all gotta be cool about this." I'm like, "I write some weird shit." I was like, like I'm an indie author, and they're like, "Oh, what do you write?" I was like, "I ain't telling you guys."
Yeah, yeah, no, that's
But
yeah.
like my close friends in the group, I've told them, and one of them is reading a bunch of them, and but yeah, I was just like, I ain't telling you guys, I write some weird shit.
That's so funny. I work at a school, and I'm in middle school and high school, and so I mentioned to someone else in the ex ed, which is where I sub a lot, and I
Yeah.
mentioned to them that I write and kind of like a vague description. And so they didn't say anything about it, but then one day, they were talking about writing, and one of the head guy, he was like, "Well, Miss Craig is a writer, and she likes scary stuff." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I looked at your Facebook." I'm like, "Oh no, don't do that." He's like, "We have to look up what you wrote and read it." And I was like,
You're like, how about we don't?
maybe don't. I mean, it's not terrible. Like Medusa's not terrible, but there's some stuff that other people might be like, "What is wrong with this lady, and why is she working here?"
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it could be worse.
yeah. So it is funny though to like talk to people outside the community about your work, and you're like,
Yeah, it's a little like, because sometimes you get like stares or like, "You write that?" And I'm like, "If you think what I write is crazy, you should see what I read."
yeah, or be inside my head for like 5 minutes.
Right? Like whenever people like talk about like someone brought up Strawberry Shortcake recently by
Oh
Daniel Wolfe,
Lord.
and he was like, "I think that's like the most that I'll ever be able to like gross out." He's like, "I don't think I have another gross out story in me." I'm like, "You don't need to have another gross out story in you. That was good
Sufficient.
enough." Like when I
Also,
like, yeah,
I love Daniel. I know we're not talking about men in horror, but like I get to see Daniel at AuthorCon, and he's my favorite.
he's wonderful. Yeah. I on the way to Books and Brews last year, I literally read Left to You and
Oh
on
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
plane.
Oh, Lefty is so good. I still need to read For the Better. But
I read For the Better when I got back from the trip. So I read Left 2 on the like for the plane ride, and then when I got back, I read For the Better.
yeah, very, very good. Not a woman, but also indie horror, and
But he's also very, very supportive of women in
he
horror.
is, and he's an amazing person, and
Yeah.
he has this cute daughter that does all this other horror stuff
His
too.
daughter is a woman in horror
Yeah, he
because
supports her. Yeah,
yeah, they wrote that story together,
that's
and
true. That is
yep.
true.
So his daughter is a woman in horror.
I love
Shout
that.
her out. Yeah.
So sweet.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Asia and I will both have stuff coming out soon. So follow us both if you want to know what we're doing. But if you don't like reading unhinged stuff, then maybe don't follow us. um, and you guys can find. I know you already probably know this, but you can find me on Instagram, the Spine of Motherhood, and Facebook is just my name. So I don't ever really like talk about my own socials, but that's where you can find me, maybe,
Yeah.
depending on the day. Did you have anything else you wanted to add about women in horror or your writing?
Um, I mean, that's what I had on my list.
Okay.
You know,
Well,
my brain, if
read,
it's not on the list, it's
prioritize reading women. That's my message.
absolutely
It's super important because, and I wrote this kind of in your forward to your collection, like if we normalize seeking out women and prioritizing women, it becomes a thing where everybody will do that.
right. Exactly. And it's not done just once a month or once a year.
Because when you push one thing, and again, I'm not hating on Stephen King because I love Stephen King, but when you just read Stephen King and you just review Stephen King, and you just push Stephen King, other people are seeing just Stephen King and
Hmm.
they're reading just Stephen King. And so if
Yeah,
we do women and we promote them and we read them and we review them, it sets the standard for it. So definitely I hear people say, "Well, I don't care about if they're a woman or not, or if they're a person of color or not." Nah, bump
you
all that.
should.
You should, yeah. You should
You
seek them out.
absolutely should.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, read women in horror, love women in horror. That's my message. And thank you for coming on here and yapping with me
Oh,
again.
Candace Nola is a woman
Oh,
of
and yeah,
color in horror.
she does
I
a
can't
lot of
believe we
stuff.
forgot her. Yes, Candace Nola is when you said people of color, yeah, she is a woman of color
She's kind of got like
horror.
her hands in everything too. Like
She's amazing.
we did talk about her. Sylvester Barzy and I talked about her for Black horror.
Yes,
Um, but she definitely deserves to be mentioned again. And she has a
absolutely.
group called Uncomfortably Dark.
Yes,
If you're not in it, it's a great group. But she does a lot of promotion for other women. Uh,
she does. She does. Yeah, she absolutely does. So she definitely deserves to be mentioned again.
Agreed. And definitely send me everything we talked about because I'll forget so I can put it in the show
I
notes.
will.
If you're listening and you want to know who all we talked about, what we talked about, it'll be in the show notes. But thank you, Asia, for being on here. I love you so much.
I love you. Thank you for always thinking of me.
Of course. A huge thank you to Asia for being on the podcast again. Please go check out her books and her social media. Show her some love. And as always, happy reading.